3 minutes.
Wow. Anyone know any jokes?
One minute, thank you. It's hard to see you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Craig Pearson with the Windsor Star, and I'm happy to serve as the moderator today for the Windsor Essex Regional Chamber of Commerce 2014 mayoral election debate. I'd like to first thank our sponsors, Unifor and Media Street. Also, thank you to AM 800 and TV Cogeco for broadcasting this important event live to the community. TV Cogeco will also rebroadcast it tonight at 8:30 and again in the coming days. It's also being streamed live at windsorstar.com. Questions were developed through key issues from the Chamber members and the community. The rules of the debate were agreed upon in advance by the campaign teams. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for opening remarks. Then for the question and answer period, the first candidate will have 1.5 minutes. The next two candidates will have 1 minute, and the first candidate will have a 30-second rebuttal. There are 12 questions arranged randomly so that each candidate will have the same opportunity to go first the same number of times. All candidates will then have a 1.5 minute closing remark. A chamber timekeeper, by the way, will be signaling when the candidates have 15 seconds left. During an earlier meeting with the campaign teams, the position of candidates on stage, and that's the order of speaking, was determined by draw. Please welcome Windsor mayoral candidates Drew Dilkens, Larry Horwitz, and John Millson. I'm sure we're in for an informative and lively debate, but I would like to ask the audience to please refrain from applauding till the end of the event, and then, of course, you can go for it. To the candidates, I say good luck. It is time to debate. We'll start opening statements with Mr. Dilkens.
Yeah, thank you very much, Craig, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting us today and being able to provide this opportunity to the community, for an opportunity for all of us to become informed. I want to thank Larry and John for putting their name forward as candidates in this election. It's a very important election, and I appreciate their attendance here today. Friends, on October 27th, you will be given a very clear choice. We can choose to go back to the way things used to be, a 13.1% property tax increase, increasing debt, bank loans to fund operations, and 12.5% unemployment with very little investment in infrastructure. That's his record. They won't talk about how it was when he was in charge. We don't want to unravel what we have achieved in the last 11 years. That record includes 6 years of a property tax freeze, lowering debt, record investment in capital, fixing our roads and sewers that were neglected in the 1980s and the 1990s. Friends, we have a clear choice, a choice to continue to build on our success, to hold the line on taxes, to freeze our utility rates, to fix our roads and sewers, and improve our quality of life. Yes, to improve our quality of life. My friend here refers to it as bells and whistles, but new libraries for the first time in decades, new fire halls providing protection for an additional 50,000 residents of the city, new pools, an aquatic center so people in this community don't have to leave Windsor on weekends, new park upgrades, and new bike paths. These are essential to build a better quality of life, providing our residents with the amenities that we deserve. Amenities that every modern city and progressive community deserves as well. There is a clear choice here today, and thank you very much for the opportunity to join you.
Thank you all for coming today. Thank you so much, and thanks to the Chamber for organizing such an important event. I'm Larry Horwitz, and I would like to be your mayor. I'm a local businessman, a job creator, and a community activist. I've represented and served my community, including the last 6 of 10 years, as chairman of the Downtown Windsor Business Improvement Association. I've worked with council, with administration, and with all levels of government for the past 10 years to revitalize the city center and bring about positive change and improvements to downtown Windsor, throughout the downtown, and brought post-secondary education downtown and cut vacancy rates from 23% to 11% in the last 3 years. I graduated from York University and spent my early years on Victoria Avenue, where today I live with my family, with my wife and 5 young children. I believe in bold, innovative policies and programs and initiatives that will ensure that Windsor is a better place to live, work, and raise a family. Over the past weeks, I've met with thousands and thousands of Windsorites and listened to the concerns of over 90 business owners and employees regarding job creation, municipal accountability, infrastructure improvements, and quality of life. As your mayor, I will strive to make Windsor a more dynamic and desirable destination for business investments, workforce, and families. Together, we will drive and build the fundamental engine of success. Thank you.
Mr. Millson.
Thanks, Craig. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Chamber and the Labor Council for hosting today's debate. I'm running for Mayor of the City of Windsor to bring change to City Hall. Over the past weeks, I have heard from many residents about why this election is so very, very important. Although I left the political arena some time ago, I have remained fully engaged in the issues and challenges that we face in the city that I love. People have asked me why I'm running in this election. The answer is simple. I'm running because the status quo is just not good enough. Unemployment is too high. Second highest in Canada. 1 in 5 people under 25 have no job. Our roads and sewers are among the worst in the province, and homeowners have had to battle City Hall to get information about their own home, and that's just not right. I have a bold plan that will move Windsor forward. I will fight for what we need, protect our neighborhoods, and bring an open and accountable approach to City Hall. We need to shine a light on business of government. I will cancel the underpass and end double dipping, review the $8 million parking lot, and bring in an auditor general to provide independent oversight. Taxpayers must get the best value for their hard-earned dollars. That is why I am running. I appreciate your support.
Thank you for the opening statements. Now for the questions. Windsor briefly hired an Auditor General but terminated the position in 2012. Would you hire an Auditor General, and would you support an audit of Enwin? Mr. Dilkens.
Well, thanks for the question, Craig, and quite frankly, we had an Auditor General, and when we had an Auditor General, that person was the face of the Auditor General's office, but it was always contemplated and City Council approved that all of the work done by that office would be subcontracted out to a third-party independent public accounting firm. We had to, for unfortunate reasons, terminate the employment of that Auditor General, but we maintained the organization that was hired to do all of the work in any event. So we have an Auditor General. That Auditor General is someone that you know quite well. PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is an independent, public, dispassionate, internationally recognized accounting firm who provides advice for firms that are 10 times the size of the City of Windsor. We have an Auditor General. That Auditor General reports to City Council and has the full flexibility to undertake audits, but they undertake audits based on a risk assessment, which is exactly what you would hope they would do as a taxpayer, that they're going to look at the risk areas of the corporation. As it relates to Enwin, they have looked at the risk areas of the corporation, including our agencies, boards, and commissions, including Enwin. And in 2015, there is a scheduled audit of Enwin based on PricewaterhouseCoopers advice. So, make no mistake, we will be undertaken on Enwin in 2015, and I'm quite content that we have that service, we're providing that service without the back-end legacy costs of having a different department at the City of Windsor.
Mr. Horwitz.
Back in June, July, when I announced my platform, I was the first in the race. I announced that we need to have an Auditor General. The office of the Auditor General must be restored in this city. When I go door to door, people have lost faith in their city, they've lost faith in their government. They ask me, why don't we have the office of the Auditor General? Why did we end that office? Why did we take it away from our city? And we need to restore that faith back in our government. We need to shine a light on Enwin as well. I announced at the Enwin Forum, which I held back in April, for downtown businesses and businesses throughout the city and residents, that we have to shine a light on Enwin. We have to do a value for money audit of Enwin and make sure the efficiencies and inefficiencies are checked over and make sure that we save the taxpayer the money and the residents that they deserve to be saved. Thank you.
Mr. Millson.
We need an Auditor General. We need that person now. We do not have one. Make that very clear. The Municipal Act requires that we have our books audited. That's not an Auditor General. Auditor General will ensure that we're getting value for our money. That's why we need it. You have no idea when I'm out on the road listening to people that their basements are flooded. City Hall did a study. They found the study. The Windsor Star had to go with the Freedom of Information Act to try and get that report out of City Council. Finally, a judge said, you have to give that out, right? City Council decided no, they wouldn't give it out until after the election. What are you hiding? We can't afford to have anything hidden anymore. We need openness and transparency. That's why I will bring the the Auditor General back to Windsor.
Thank you. Now starting with Mr. Horwitz.
Do I get my rebuttal?
I apologize. Of course. He gets a rebuttal.
Thank you, Craig. And what you just heard is factually incorrect. It's just absolutely factually incorrect. There's a privacy commissioner. The appeal was made to the privacy commissioner who reviewed the application under Freedom of Information legislation, agreed that the information should be released, but also agreed with the city, not City Council. We didn't make the decision. They agreed with the city that the information should be protected so as to protect the interests of taxpayers, and I think that's very important. But it's interesting that Mr. Millson is concerned about audits and interested in having Auditor Generals, because in 2006, when he caved into the big boys from the Windsor Star, Millson repeatedly denied reading contracts he signed as president or details of annual audited statements that spelled out consultant fees.
Thank you, Mr. Dilkens. And for the question starting with Mr. Horwitz, what is your plan for roads, sewers, and flooding basements?
Well, as I go door to door, I've spoken to thousands of residents, and I've spoken to people and businesses throughout the city. And it's very important, thank you, that we get back to basics, that we do things that Mr. Millson could have done 20 years ago, Drew could have done in the last 8 years, which is fix the sewers, fix the roads. Everybody's been talking about it, and that's what they talk about. They say, you know, we're into these big projects, which I talked about months ago, and we stop doing the things that are important to the average citizen. We stop fixing the sewers. We stop fixing the roads. We're doing these things that Mr. Millson calls bells and whistles, but I call big projects. That's what we've been concentrating on. I came forward with a plan to use our budget and make sure to prioritize our budget and make sure that the roads and sewers are fixed during my administration. I also added, I took from unallocated resources in the next budget, $20 million on top of what we're spending on fixing roads and sewers to make sure that we take care of the issues that are affecting everybody in the city. It brings down the value of housing. It brings insurance prices through the roof for everybody. We need to take care of these things right away. There's no time to wait.
Mr. Millson.
Thank you, Craig. I love bells and whistles. Our team did a great job putting that one together because it's ringing bells. It's resonating right here, right now. You know, I took everyone in this city around to a house last week because they had a flooded basement. The house was only 10 years old. There is something wrong in our community when your house is flooding. How can they go away? They've got their treasures, photographs from years ago in their basement, and they can't even go away for a weekend because they're worried about a storm and rain. It's just wrong. It needs to be changed. We have to have that openness and transparency again. Mr. Dilkens had never gone around to their house. You want to know what I received yesterday? I received letters from insurance companies that have now cut off flood insurance for the homes in those areas. That's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. We have to change that.
Mr. Dilkens.
Well, I know firsthand what a basement flood is like because I've had one. I know how uncomfortable it is, and we haven't sat back. And although I can't take responsibility for climate change, I can take responsibility for what we've done as a city council, and I can tell you what I would do as your mayor moving forward. We have invested record amounts in infrastructure. That includes roads and sewers. And between 2009 and 2017, we will be investing $115 million annually. Since 2011, when we've had those major 1-in-100-year storms, we have not sat back idly. We have worked diligently to try and find out the source of the problem, a problem that was not fixed in the 1980s when someone else was the mayor of this city, a problem that we inherited. But that's okay. We will fix it. And when I'm the mayor of the city, we will continue to make the record investments that are required to fix the sewer system in this city, something that we have inherited, but something today. Back in the 1980s, they spent very little to fix the infrastructure, and when they did, they issued debt to pay for it. We're not doing that. We're not issuing debt, and we're not using the city credit card to pay for the repairs that we're going to make.
Mr. Horwitz, you have 30 seconds.
As I listened to my opponents, I realized that neither of them did what they were supposed to do when they were in office. Neither of them fixed the roads. Neither of them fixed the sewers. I pledge in the next 4 or 8 years, that will be the #1 priority in the city. Fix the sewers, make homes valuable again, fix the neighborhoods, and fix the roads. Thank you.
This next question starts with Mr. Millson. There has been a lot of discussion about the municipal property tax rate the last number of years. What is your plan for municipal taxes?
Well, I can tell you one thing. It won't be smoke and mirrors. Okay? You won't be seeing me going, there's going to be a 0% increase when, in fact, down here, our taxes have increased 16.5%. And whether you call it a surcharge, I still call it a tax on the sewer surcharge. The second highest in all of Ontario. When I take a look at our taxes, I've been assured by His Worship, Mayor Eddie Francis, who's here today, that in fact the budgets are in great shape, the books are in great shape, so I will continue on with that 0% tax increase, a tax freeze. I think that's wonderful. That's what we will continue with, without a doubt. We're assured once again that the books are all in order and everything is there, so that's what I will intend to do as mayor.
Mr. Dilkens.
Well, you can't suck and blow. I just heard that it's not 0%, that it's gone up 16, but we're going to continue on a 0% tax increase. I know because I've been around, and my colleagues who are over there know the hard work that we put into it to keep it at 0 for the last 6 years. And I've already made a commitment as part of my Proven Jobs Plan. We recognize the importance of taxes. We recognize the importance to do that. I commit to you that I will continue to hold the line on taxes and offer you a zero tax rate for 2015. And every year after that, we will continue to look at the expense side of the budget. We will continue to monitor the revenue side to try and increase the assessment to allow us to continue to offer that to you, because we understand that holding the line on taxes positions our economy, positions this community in a better place in terms of being able to create jobs. We've also continued and will continue on the NWIN portion of the bill, because these are all bundles of tax that you have to pay. We will continue to hold the line on the portion of the NWIN bill that we control here in the City of Windsor.
Thank you, Mr. Horwitz.
Well, first of all, I'm a businessman. I've been a businessman all my life. I know what taxes are like. I know what you need to do to keep this economy booming. You need to hold the line on taxes. You need to prioritize our budget so that instead of doing these massive big-ticket items that are fun to do, we have to fix the roads and sewers. We have to do the important things first. Then we can get on with other things like that. I was the chairman of the Downtown Business Association, 615 businesses. We never raised taxes in the 10 years I was involved, and we had a 40% budget reduction. And guess what? We still balanced the budget, and we made sure that we got along by prioritizing. So the most important thing is, if anything, if we could raise our tax base, I would even like to see a reduction in taxes down the road. But right now, I pledge to hold the line on taxes.
Mr. Millson, you have 30 seconds.
Well, we've all agreed there's not going to be any tax increase next year. We're all in favor of that. Mr. Dilkens, you do not have a job plan. There's 19,000 people in the City of Windsor right now without work. Second highest in Ontario. Youth. We have no jobs for the youth. We need to keep them here. When everybody's working, taxes aren't an issue.
Thank you very much. Starting with Mr. Dilkens, small business is the largest creator of jobs in the community. What would you do to help small business and create jobs?
Well, listen, Craig, I think it's very important. We all recognize that jobs is the key issue in this particular campaign, and there's really two issues and two sides of the equation. One, the city can help create the environment. We create the environment that makes it attractive for businesses to invest in this community. And that involves the tax rate and holding the line on taxes like we did for the last 6 years. It also involves creative strategies, and we've implemented community improvement plans in this city that have paid huge dividends. They've resulted in nearly 3,000 new jobs being created. We've retained 1,345 jobs, and through these CIPs, we've leveraged an additional $88 million in private sector investment. The other side of the equation is something we're all very proud of, and that is diversifying the economy. And we've diversified the economy when it comes to CS Wind. When you drive down East Row Expressway, the city played a key role in that. We've helped diversify the economy. If you saw the newspaper today, at Premier Aviation out of the airport, 100 people working. They're looking to hire 200 more people. And we have not sat back. We have put our money where our mouth is. And as mayor, I would continue to move that plan forward. I would continue to make the strategic investments at the Windsor Airport with the FedEx, with the cargo hub, where FedEx is the key tenant, and the multimodal transportation hub at the airport. I think that is a big key to moving forward in job creation in our community.
Mr. Horwitz.
Windsor needs to be open for business. I've been the chairman of the Downtown Business Association, over 615 businesses, mostly small businesses in your community. I fought hard for them. I realized what their needs are. I realized that we needed to cut utility costs, and I will do that as your mayor. I realized that we need to have subsidies of some kind, programs, grants, to encourage businesses to develop in our city. 65% of all businesses developed and created by small business. We have to realize that, and we have to fight for them. And as a matter of fact, we brought in a program, well, I was chairman, of giving a grant subsidy to businesses in the downtown core, where you give up to $625 towards small businesses when they start up in the city of Windsor. So we need to fight for small business. We we need to do. We need to create permits and licenses cheaper and make them 24/7 online. We need to speed up the process. A lot of people are complaining because the process of getting businesses started in Windsor are so difficult, and we need to lower utility rates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Millson.
Thank you. You know what we need? We need someone at City Hall that says, I want to help you. Entrepreneurs that are right out here right now, I'm looking at all of you. I mean, see one guy that had a pickup truck and a welding machine, now employs 200 people in the City of Windsor. They don't ask for much. They just want a voice. They want to be able to be heard. They want to have that kind of feeling that someone is on their side, not fighting them all the time. You know, my opponent here indicates community improvement program and brownfield development. Those aren't his programs. Those are provincial programs. And we have not gone after enough of those grants here in the City of Windsor. Why? Because we don't go out and actively wrap our arms around them. And I know I've been teased about this, but look it, that's me. I just am here to find out what can I do to help you? How can I help you? That's what I'm here for. That's, as mayor, you will always have an open door policy in the mayor's office.
Mr. Dilkens, 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to remind people what the unemployment rate was in the city back in 1991 when my opponent was mayor. It was 12.5%. And in fact, he talks about creating jobs and all the jobs that he's created, but I think a 1989 article from the Windsor Star that says, in particular, if we were to add up all the thousands of jobs that Mayor Millson has promised over the past 6 months without rock-solid commitments, it would be enough to start a small city. And you know what? We know what it takes to create jobs. We've done it. And the CIP is allowable under legislation, but it takes the initiative of council to do it.
Thank you.
And that's what I would do as mayor, continue to move that
Thank
forward.
you very much. Starting with Mr. Horwitz, the 100-day civic strike in 2009 was seen by some as a debate over outsourcing public jobs. Would you outsource more of them?
We need door-to-door and talking to thousands of residents.